Gotta be quiet. Live from New York, it's the CC Radio Network, and we are the Coffee Party. And welcome aboard. My name is Felix, and my co-host is...
Me.
Me. And who is me?
I'm Mini-Me.
Mini-Me.
Mark.
Our co-host, Dr. Mark. It's Friday night. It's 9 o'clock, and we are broadcasting live, as we always do.
We should explain the idea of today's topic, I think.
Well, before that, let's give the people a phone number to call in case we get interrupted by a phone call.
Oh, by all means. You can reach us, for those of you who are new to us, at 516-665-1860. We'd love to hear from you because the show is better when you call up with your thoughts and insights as to our topic. Otherwise, as I've always said before, it's just Felix and I shooting the breeze, no different than if it was a Sunday afternoon in the backyard having an iced tea or cold beer, so please give us a call.
Okay. Tonight we're expecting a call shortly from Dr. Dunn, one of our regular listeners. Dr. Dunn, one of our regular listeners.
Yes, I am sorry about that. Dr. Dunn just finished reading Doris Kerns Goodwin's The Bully Pulpit, and he would like to discuss his views on it. I'm sure that some of our listeners have similar views or maybe different views. We'll let him discuss exactly or mention exactly what he would like to do. But for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Bully Pulpit is when the president uses his authority as the chief executive to pass certain laws and legislation. Okay? Many progressives in the Democratic Party have said that President Obama has not been forceful enough. He's been trying to reach across the aisle, and in many cases he has conceded many things to the Republicans and the Tea Party in hopes of getting a bipartisan legislation, okay? And they feel that some of these things, like his Jobs Act, which went nowhere in his first term of office, basically should have been pushed further, because we still, even though we only have 7% unemployment, what that breaks down to is we still have many people who have stopped filing for unemployment, can't find work, people who have 2 part-time jobs and still can't make up a salary equal to a full-time job, okay? Our infrastructure is in disrepair. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with this. You drive the highways of the country and you see signs that say your tax dollars at work, and you don't see any work. Okay, it's just as simple as that. Felix and I have made mention in the past to Franklin Roosevelt's, the WWW, the CCC, etc. So the bottom line is, this is what we are going to be discussing. How can we create jobs? How can he use the Bully Pulpit for the benefit of the American people?
I'm sorry, I'm just working on something, Mark, and you're getting involved in other things I see.
I can't help it. When I get beeped with an email, I have to be, or a text, I have to be able to respond. Some people, that's what they do.
Well, you just get
this is our public, Felix.
But sometimes they have to wait because it's interrupting the show.
Meanwhile, I think I've said quite a bit already. Why don't you take over?
It's my job to give you a hard time. What do you mean take over?
Well, I mean, I know that I love politics and I love discussing what can't get done. Like I said, we've all discussed it before, but basically that's what the show is going to be about.
But, you had said something also, I'm sorry, that the president hasn't done much because he hasn't, he's been trying to cross the lines and negotiate with the Republicans. I don't think the president has tried to negotiate with the Republicans. I don't think the Republicans have tried to negotiate with the president. There's been no dialogue from either side.
Well, I mean, if you watch the news today and you see what's going on within the Republican Party, I mean, they're rebelling against each other. Our friend in Texas, Louis Gohmert, the man who, I almost hate to say this, folks, but he's got shit for brains, okay? He and Michelle Bachmann, but she's been very quiet lately, thank goodness for that. But we have the other ditzy one, Sarah Palin, picking up the slack for Michelle Bachmann, threatening Republican congresspeople that we are going to be watching how you vote, okay, come the 2014 midterm elections. So, again, an idle threat. And who is she? She's a half-a-term governor, okay, who's throwing her weight around, whose last book failed miserably, okay? But within the Republican Party, you have this rebellion going on. Tea Party people are saying that the rank and file, the middle-of-the-road conservatives are not conservative enough, okay? Glenn Beck, that jerk, okay, is throwing his weight around. And, of course, we have Rush Limbaugh, who he doesn't care who he offends, okay? I mean, they're all afraid of people like Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh. They're afraid to call them on anything, all right? Now, I don't know if I'm supposed to say these things or not, but, as Felix knows, I get very heated when I talk about this.
Mark, you can say whatever your heart desires.
Excuse me?
You can say whatever your heart desires.
Well, if we get sued, are they suing me or are they suing our show?
Suing you, of course.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. Now you tell me. No, I just have very strong feelings about this, ladies and gentlemen. I really do.
Well, we all have strong feelings. Do you know what the president's approval?
We have a call. Wait a minute. Hold that thought, Felix.
Hi, this is Felix, and you're on the Coffee Club. And who's calling?
He's Don calling.
Don.
Hello, Dr. Don. How are you?
I'm well. How are you guys doing?
Well, I don't know. Have you heard my rant and raving going on the last 10 minutes?
Yes, and I agree with about 99.9% of what you said. What an
well, thank you. Makes me feel good. At least we have one listener who agrees.
Yeah, I agree with you. What's fascinating is I just finished reading Doris Kerns Goodwin's book on the Bully Pulpit. And it's a timely topic. I don't know. I guess some of your, maybe most of your, and I know you fellas know that she's one of our foremost historians.
Exactly. I love listening to her whenever she's on all those shows.
Yeah, she's terrific. And, of course, most recently, her famous book about the team of rivals, about Abraham Lincoln, how he brought into his cabinet the people who he was essentially were
at odds with.
Yeah, and, of course, a movie was made, a famous movie which won the Academy Award. So she's very, very famous. So the book, it's a tome. I mean, it was like 900 pages.
I don't think she's ever written anything that's much shorter than that.
Right. And thank God I'm retired, because otherwise it would take me a year to have read it.
It's almost like trying to get through the Sunday Times. You can't do it in one day.
You can't do it in one day. I think that's why it's a whole weekend deal.
That's exactly.
But I think that it's such a timely book, because I'm sure she was aware when she was writing it, the parallel between the era, the progressive era, then, and back in the early 20th century, when Theodore Roosevelt, and Taft were partners, really, in this new era in terms of making things right, in terms of social justice and the kind of issues that were going on. The thing that struck me was the parallel between what was going on in that time is so much similar now. The problems they were facing were very similar. The gap between the rich and the poor, about the need for regulation of business, the justice in terms of what the poor had to face, and so many other issues that it was such a profound parallel between then and now that I was struck by their contribution. And by the way, Roosevelt and Taft unfortunately became enemies because Roosevelt, after 2 terms of being president, wanted Taft to become president as his successor, but then disagreed with his legislation and his philosophy, and they became enemies. But it was I just wanted to say to Mark and to both of you folks that, the conversation you had as I was listening in the beginning, I tend to agree with. Obviously, I have a more liberal background, I guess, than maybe some of your listeners.
Well, certainly not more liberal than my own. And Felix is leaning a little bit more to the right. When I say to the right, I mean he's to the left of middle, but not as far as we are.
Okay.
He's more mainstream, I think.
My kind of guy.
I don't like I don't like the Obamacare, the way it's running and things like that.
Yeah.
That if that makes me middle extreme, that's fine. I really, I heard somebody say something that was really interesting, and he said he was a political atheist.
Political atheist. Wow.
In other words, he doesn't believe in any parties. He just goes along with whatever he thinks, and that's it.
And don't they call him independents?
Yeah, but he just called himself a political atheist.
Okay, he wants to coin his own phrase, I guess.
Yeah, and he gives a rat's ass about Republicans and Democrats, and whatever he thinks, that's it. If he agrees with the left or the right or whatever, like you said, say an independent, but he coined his own phrase and it was on radio and.
Well,
so
what struck me, again, going back to the book, but in connection with what you're saying, is these presidents or these leaders sometimes go through awful crisis. I mean, their own party. I mean, in the book, you see the Republicans are fighting with each other. And what's going on today? There's an internal struggle in the Republican Party going on now. So there's such a parallel between then and now. But you know what? Let me just say something. I happen to have voted for Obama both times, and somewhat of a disappointment to me because I think I projected so much of hope and that there would be a transformative change. And of course, when you're in a position that he's in, and again reading the book about the history of the presidency and the leadership style and the temperament and the obstructionist forces that these presidents have to go through, and then they go through enormous crises, and their pollings go down. Of course, years ago they didn't have pollings, but they go through enormous change. And I think, this is just an opinion. I have no fact to back it up, but I think 2 years from now we're going to look back, maybe 3, look back and say, Obamacare? What was the problem? I mean, most everybody's benefiting. It's going to be a good thing, like Social Security.
I don't know if you remember, but I mean, I've been saying that all along. I've been saying, give it a chance to work,
right,
like the people in Massachusetts,
right,
and you'll find. I mean, let's be honest. Is it better not to have insurance and wind up with a $125,000 hospital bill?
Right.
Or would you rather pay $2,000 if you can out of your pocket or make some payment plan and have the same operation, life-saving operation, okay, and have insurance?
Right. Right.
You know, you have to give it a chance. These people want to repeal it, and they put all their eggs into one basket. You know, everything and they stop the government from working.
Right.
Because everything boils down to Obamacare.
Yep.
You know, they want to do away with it. It's his signature.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's his signature legislation. It's probably, if it continues, okay, if they don't repeal it, I mean, they've already tried 42 times.
Yep.
But if they can't repeal it, okay, it'll be his signature policy for his 8 years in office. Hopefully there will be more, but I'm just saying, as the first president to ever get anything through on health care since FDR brought in Social Security and Johnson passed Medicare.
Right. And Clinton tried. Of course, it was aborted, but at least he tried. Bush didn't even. Neither one of the Bushes even attempted to.
Well, I think
reform.
I think with the Clintons, what Congress and some Democrats too disagreed with was the fact that he gave the job to Hillary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's his wife, but she's also a lawyer. She's also brilliant. Okay, and nobody wanted to work with her because they looked at her as the first lady.
Right.
Well, this first lady may wind up being president in 2016.
Yep. Well, you're absolutely right, 100%, but we're neglecting an important factor here, both with Clinton and Obama. They'll do anything to avoid him having a legacy. They don't like him. They'll do anything to prevent him from having any major achievement in office.
You're 100% right, and he said it before. Much of the legislation that he is introducing were Republican ideas 6 years ago, while Bush was still president, okay, before he even ran for president,
right.
Okay, like the idea of health care, Romney Care,
right.
Okay, that was a Republican and a Heritage Foundation idea that went through. Unfortunately, I mean, we're coming up upon the anniversary of Newtown tomorrow. The gun legislation, the gun lobby is so powerful and so strong, nothing can get done. Okay? The people down south, for the most part, the people in the Midwest, they just love their guns.
Yep, they love their guns. And by the way, I'm glad you brought it up because look what happened today. Another shooting in Colorado.
That's right.
Another
shotgun,
shooting in
huh?
Colorado. You know, I lived out there for 5 years. I lived I was in the military for 3 years in Aurora. Actually,
good skiing, Don. Good skiing.
Oh, yeah, I learned how to ski. And by the way, I never hit any trees, but I came close a couple of times. But, yeah, I was in Colorado 5 years, so, you know, I was within the radius, close radius of all these three shootings, Columbine, the one today, and
the one in Aurora.
Aurora, and then Arapahoe today, or wherever it's called. And here we go again. I mean, I know the Second Amendment to the Constitution, we have a right to bear arms, but something has to be done. I don't know what the answer is. We've discussed this before. I've heard you before talk about this on the show. Something has to be done in terms of controlling who gets firearms. And if you do have a firearm, you know, I guess there has to be ways of preventing what happened today. And part of it, I was listening to the show this evening, and there have been enormous lessons learned from Columbine. I mean, now they have these drills where the kids go into a lockdown mode. They can't have a cop. They can't have a cop and policeman in every school. But you know, we've learned a lot of lessons, but we're still not there yet.
Well, you know, it's not only that. It's just that after Columbine, as being like the first big shooting, okay, and takeover of a high school, many schools across the country put in metal detectors, and the kids have to pass through metal detectors before they can come into the building.
Yeah.
So unless they're savvy enough to have one of those plastic guns, okay, that can escape metal detection, I don't know how they get through with these high-powered rifles.
Yeah, I don't know either. It baffles me. But you know what really concerns me as a psychologist. What concerns me is what effect is it going to have on the psyches of these kids? I went to. I don't know how old you guys are, but I remember going to school in the 50s. The last thing I thought of was feeling insecure, or that something bad was going to happen that day, except that I might fail a test. But, that was the worst thing that I ever was afraid of. But what about the psyche of these kids? You watch them now on TV coming out of the schools where the firings took place with their hands in the air, and they're actually patted down.
What
kind of effect is that going to have on their psyche for the rest of their life?
You're right. I mean, two of the places that kids basically always could have felt safe is at home and in school.
Absolutely.
And there are so many break-ins in homes, okay? And unfortunately, over the years, as you've indicated, these school shootings, I mean, you're not safe anywhere.
Yeah.
And now the children, I mean, back when we went to school, we used to have take cover drills.
Right.
Because they were worried about the atom bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to have take cover drills because you never know when an intruder's going to come in and shoot the place up.
But Mark, were you ever afraid really of an atomic bomb? It was almost like a game, right? We hid under desks or in a closet.
That's basically how we thought of it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was a game.
Plus, if there was an atomic bomb, going under the table wouldn't have helped any.
Right.
I really feel that, as I said, the boomer generation's loss of innocence was 2001, 9/11. Okay? All the wars always happened someplace else.
Yep.
No one ever had the guts to do what those 19 men did.
Right.
Okay? Suicide mission, so to speak. They knew that there were going to be 72 virgins waiting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think they didn't realize that they were going to look like Ruth Westheimer. But in any event, and I don't mean to poke fun at Ruth Westheimer, I'm just saying elderly. But the point being that was when things changed for my generation, and even for yours.
Well, of course.
For these kids, their innocence is stripped away from them as they see these things on TV and they see kids just like them.
Right.
When I was teaching, I used to teach Peter, Paul, and Mary's Puff the Magic Dragon, and I love doing music as poetry and message. And basically, Puff the Magic Dragon was a child's loss of innocence. Growing up, you read fairy tales and hear nursery rhymes, and all of a sudden, at some point in time, you stop reading that stuff, and all the fantasy that you make up in your mind about dragons and flying animals, it's like no more, and that's why Puff the Magic Dragon just fades away.
Right.
And for these children, as you say, especially the ones in Newtown, the elementary school, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, it's just a shame. It really is. Kids now, no place is safe for them.
No place is safe, exactly.
That's parents, I remember we used to go out and play, and my mother never worried about where we were. We were either in the front or we were in the schoolyard, whatever the case may be. Now it's always parents asking their kids, where are you going? When are you going to be home? Call me up, because everybody has a cell phone.
Right.
Call me up and let me know what's what. If you need a ride, it's just awful.
Yep. Yeah, life has changed ever since 9/11, and life has changed since Columbine. And I can't imagine what it's like growing up now. I mean, I grew up in a small town in New Jersey, and life was so much simpler. And I've been indicating a sense of security was always. Who was afraid? I mean, the only thing I was afraid of was I wouldn't pass a test. Hey,
Donald.
Yeah.
I grew up in Brooklyn, and then Brooklyn was safe. No one locked their door. No one locked their car.
Yeah.
You could walk the streets at night, okay? But I really want to get back to your original topic because, unfortunately, you and me, we're straying from the bully pulpit.
Yeah, Rob, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, basically what I said before you had called up, I said that what a lot of progressives and Democrats are upset about is the fact that Obama is not using the bully pulpit
Right.
the way a president should, because there are some. Take Johnson. Johnson was a master, in getting things pushed through. He knew how to, because he spent so much time, in Congress as a congressman and a senator.
Right.
He just knew what to do.
Right.
Okay.
But see, he had the same leadership style and temperament that, as his book pointed out, the bully pulpit, that Teddy Roosevelt, who, by the way, he coined the term bully pulpit, meaning that he used his persuasive skills, communication skills, aggressiveness to go beyond Congress, to go directly to the people, to influence, the legislation or the issues that he wanted to have take place, because he had a vision. Now, I don't know whether Obama, he has a different temperament, obviously, the temperament that Taft had, which was, more deliberative, more legalistic, more deliberative, and that's fine. I mean, that's an effective leadership style, but that's not what we need today, and that's where Obama is not using what is called the bully pulpit to, he'll talk and he's very skillful, but he doesn't have that. I don't know. I guess the word is charisma. He doesn't have that temperament to get people to get really, as he once did when he wrote the book about hope and inspiring. And somehow it was a great campaigner, but when it comes to leadership, he's not delivering. In my opinion.
I remember years ago, sitting in school and we were discussing the presidency, and the point was that prospective presidents have such great ideas for the most part, but when they get into office, they see that some of that is just, they will never realize any of that.
Right.
I mean, you have to deal with a Congress unless you are controlling houses of Congress, as Obama did the first 2 years, and he couldn't do anything.
Right.
And the reason he couldn't do anything was because he had blue dog Democrats, or purple Democrats, or whatever you want to call them, mainly from the South, who didn't share his ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, then the Republicans took over Congress, and for sure nothing can get done now. But it's nice to sit back and watch, as we said, the revolution going on within the Republican Party itself.
Yep, exactly.
Well, what happens, even with or without a revolution, the minute there's a vote, they're going to stick together and all vote the same way.
If you listen to what's going on now, Boehner is trying to come a little bit more to the center, because he knows that in 15 months, so whatever it is, there's going to be, an election, in 2014, and the Republican Party, all it takes is about 20 seats in the Congress.
Right.
If the Democrats can get 20 seats in the Congress, they will now control both houses of Congress.
Yeah. Well,
plus,
I think Boehner, you brought him up. Boehner, I think, rightly got upset because it looked to me, at least, that there was some kind of reconciliation, some kind of agreement in regard to this budget crisis, where Ryan and I forgot her name from wherever she is.
Patty Murray from Washington.
Patty Murray, yeah. At least they've made a great attempt to reconcile. At least to have so we wouldn't go to another cliff or crisis again. And the conservative right were criticizing this budget deal. Boehner says, all right, that's enough. And rightly so. Who wants to go through this whole crisis dilemma again? And so Boehner was right this time. By the way, he's from Ohio, where
Right.
From
Well, you've
Cincinnati,
been
where my wife is
moving to, I
from.
hear.
Yeah, right. And by the way,
What?
that's where Howard Taft is from. He's from
You're moving to Ohio?
Yeah, I believe you are.
yeah, we're talking about it. We might be going to Cincinnati. Yeah, it's a
Cincinnati,
good,
huh? Well,
good
that's right on-
possibility.
Yeah, right by Kentucky, huh?
Yeah, right by Kentucky. At any rate, listen, guys, good talking with you again, and I appreciate it. We'll discuss again some other.
We'll
topics.
do it again. Yes.
All right,
Always a
take care.
pleasure, Dr. Don.
All right, have a good holiday. If we don't talk before then.
Oh,
Thank
we
you
might,
very
but
much.
same to you.
All
And
right.
have a good
You
weekend.
know,
Yeah, you too.
hey, Don, before I forget, Mark has an interesting topic that he wants to be discussing.
Oh, yes. If you hadn't come across with this topic about the Bully Pulpit, I want to discuss Abraham as the father of the three major religions.
Oh yeah.
And how they are the same and how they differ. I had said once before in a plug for PBS, this time of the year and Easter time, PBS puts on some great shows, okay, about religions, how they are the same, how they differ, etc. And, I had posed the question to Felix. I said, in this day and age, if some angel came to visit you and said you should slaughter your son, would you do it? Would you go as far as what Abraham did? But that's for another show.
That's for another show, but a fascinating topic. But linked to that, a little tangential, I'm reading a book now called The Proof of Heaven, where this neurosurgeon had gone into a coma and experienced a spiritual existence and came back and said, there ain't no difference, there should be no conflict between science and religion. They're just different spheres, but they really are related. Fascinating topic, and it's related to the topic of religion, I think.
You don't remember who the author was, do you?
Yeah, I'm reading the book now. I'm almost finished with it. The book is called Proof of Heaven, and it's by Eben, E-B-E-N, Alexander, M.D. The subtitle is A Neurosurgeon's Journey into the Afterlife. Absolutely. And this is a guy who's, his whole life was as a surgeon and a neuroscientist, and didn't believe in religion or God at all, and nothing about the spiritual life, but was in a coma for 7 days. And all the doctors and family gave up on him, and he came back, he woke up, and they were stunned. And it took him a while for his brain to really recuperate and so forth.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Check it out if you're interested in that kind of topic. I am fascinated because, in a way, I'm a scientist. On the other hand, I'm a believer. So
something, Don. And the other thing is, which we don't want to admit to, and that goes for me as well, we're also getting older.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're getting older, and as people get older, I don't care what anybody says, you tend to go back to your roots and your religion because you begin to question if all of this is true, okay? Because we figure we're a lot closer to meeting our Maker than we are to anything else.
Exactly.
At least for me, that's how I feel.
Exactly. I'm with you on that, Mark. Look forward to more conversation.
Time. It's always great talking to you.
Same
Pleasure.
here, Don. It was nice talking to you. And till next time.
Okay,
That's
Felix,
right. Have a good one.
appreciate your show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good evening. Bye-bye.